All right. So, hello everyone. Good afternoon. I hope you guys have been enjoying the sessions until now. In this session on resilience, we will get some positive insights on how to embrace failures. For this today, we have with us Miss Nikita Doshi and Dr. Gita Kumar. Before we begin the session, let me introduce to our speakers for the day. Nikita Doshi is a manager people success at Publicis Sapient. She has 10 years of HR experience and has played multiple roles in rewards, well-being, learning and leadership development, talent management, people policy and compliance. She's a volunteer at NHRDN and was also part of their executive committee in the past. Whereas Dr. Geeta Kumar is a multifaceted professional with over 30 years of experience across cultures and industries. Through her work, she has impacted diverse individuals and collectives in helping them rediscover their power within, manage themselves better to nurture and sustain wholesome relationships. Currently, she works as a well-being advocate, coach, and a facilitator. We are truly grateful to have you both today here with us, Dr. Geeta and Nikita. The stage is all yours.
Thank you so much, Siddesh, and good afternoon to everyone. Welcome. Life is actually never a bunch of roses, and we keep getting thrown lemons along the way. While it is maybe very current and real to the youth and the young generation and all the audience who's here who belong to the youth and the young generation, I'm actually taking myself back a few decades to a critical life stage of young adults when we set off on a journey of growing up, working out our educational, career aspiration, making important life decisions. We come across successes and setbacks. It could be, setbacks in the form of placement worries, job loss, financial problems, illnesses, natural circumstances beyond our control, death probably of a loved one. We find there are periods of smooth sailing and times when nothing seems right. Undoubtedly, we encounter fears within ourselves, we encounter anxiety within and around, uncertainties, we feel overwhelmed. But in that process, we also learn through our experiences, through our failures. We confront our own internal, personal demons, as one would say, and this happens all the time when we are meeting the external challenges. So, how do we deal with these adversities that life throws up? What is this resilience that keeps coming up in our conversation? And most importantly, why is it so important? What is this that helps us grow in the ups and downturns in life? So, today in our conversation, Nikita and I will be sharing candidly our own struggles and the coping mechanisms of our own and of our near and dear ones. And for keeping this conversation engaging, both of us would like to invite you all to share your own feelings and experiences on the chat. And also at the end, we are going to have a question and answer session. And we welcome all of us to interact and make this as engaging as possible. So let me go to Nikita and let's look at this whole growing up phase. Nikita, tell us how it was for you.
Thanks, Gita. As always, it's lovely speaking to you. And I'm very happy that we are talking about this very important topic on failures. And it connects with me really well. Throughout my life, be it from a personal standpoint or from a professional standpoint, I've also experienced multiple failures to an extent that I actually want to write my failure resume. I don't know how many of you have heard of this concept known as failure resume, but in a failure resume, you write down the degrees you don't get, the rejections you have faced, be it at work, be it in your personal life, be it even in the interviews, the roles you don't get in your workspace, the achievements that you aspired for but eventually didn't get that. So I definitely intend to do that. It's been on my radar and I definitely want to do that. And while I share my story, and I'll start with the story of me growing up, like Geeta said, would love to hear your failure stories as well. So please share your failure stories on the chat window. Type it, and the more we talk about our own failure stories, the more we normalize conversations around it. We are in a society which only celebrates success, only the positive achievements, but it's also important to talk about the failures that have gone behind it. So let me start with my story of growing up. I had a speech issue, and that started at a very very early childhood stage, and it stayed on for a very long time till my college life. and that prevented me to even speak my name properly. So I hated to introduce myself. I would always, like to be at the backstage, not speak up, did not want to say anything, participate, because I had this big fear of people making fun of me. And it had happened as well, right? People would make fun the way I would speak. This affected my self confidence big time. I was great at academics. My grades in school were great. But with respect to extracurricular activities, with respect to participating in class discussions, I would take a back seat. Simple things which seem very simple, just to say a word, I would not do that. I was this quiet child, and I used to hate labels. We have these so called labels of quiet and shy. It used to hurt me a lot, right? Especially when I would see people around me, my own friends, my own peers, able to talk so comfortably. I would wonder, why am I not able to speak up? And we're in a society where I feel speaking is overrated. We give importance to people who speak up, people who are able to share their point of view articulately. And that was my biggest, in growing up, my low points. I had a lot of self doubt, self confidence issues. And like I said, it stayed on till my first and second year engineering. When I finally got in touch with a speech therapist, my family was very supportive, and I finally got out of that issue. And now you probably can't even make out what that issue was, back then in school. I would have never thought back then that many years later, I would be so comfortable talking about these experiences in a platform like this. So we all go through experiences, tough experiences, and sometimes, through our own sheer will and desire to come out of it, things do happen. It takes time, but it does happen. So that's been my story, Geeta. I can go on and on. I think 20 minutes is also not enough, but would love to hear from you. What was it like for you growing up?
Yeah, thanks so much. And I'm so glad that, you set the context so well that, and I want all of us as audience to please share along as Nikita has requested. For me, it was a very different, till I think 10, 12 years, I was a fearless, extremely exuberant child. And from being fearless, I turned into someone with multiple complexes. So the age between 15 to 22 was the toughest for me. Complex of being short, of being fat, and people making fun of you, from being a topper to becoming an average student from 11th and 12th when I took science, and I struggled with it. And I found myself that I went into a shell, and it took me a huge amount of work to get out of this feeling of I was not good enough. In fact, looking at even the career aspirations, from, let's say, I had multiples. So let me just share. From the age of 15 to 22, I think has been a very significant age for me. I moved from all kinds of I mean, I wanted to be a fighter pilot because my father was in the Indian Air Force, and I saw this dashing fighter pilots, going and making all these sorties. So, and then suddenly realizing that that option was not available for women in India that time. Then I thought I'll become a dentist, and ultimately I graduated in commerce. And after that, I was also in a stage where I was completely clueless of what I wanted to do. So I worked, and then went and did my MBA, and then slowly things evolved. So I felt that, even career aspirations, where we begin and where we are, kind of, are also combination for me for parental pressures, expectations, societal expectations, my own interests and competency. Um, it evolved, but I don't think I ever felt that I have, I felt each one of these aspiration gave me something. And looking back, of course, it's never been a regret, because ultimately I think somewhere along the line I did manage to map my interest and competencies. So, having said that, we may start with a set frame. That's what I realized for myself. We don't even usually get it, and it's always nice to adapt, review, to figure out what's in your control and what you choose to do with whatever circumstances or situations throw upon you. There are also times when we are very helpless. circumstances completely out of our control come into play. And Nikita, how was it? Has it happened to you ever that you felt your life was all set, and then suddenly you were thrown up?
Yeah, yeah. When you were sharing your story, Geeta, it resonated with me as well. Like I said, I shared my story till school and early engineering. I wanted to be a doctor back then in school, and I that's why I took bio in my 11th and 12th. I loved biology as a subject, but as it had it, a lot of people from the medical fraternity advised me against it. That don't do it, it's a lot of commitment, it's a lot of effort, so don't do it. But I loved bio, so I took up biotech engineering as a stream, but I did not enjoy the course that much. And I also realized my career options in India are limited. I have to go outside India, I have to pursue further studies, and also I'm not cut out for research. So I did sit for placements. Like in engineering, we sit for placements in the third year, and this was way back in 2007. And I got a job, I got an IT job in Cognizant, and it was all set. I said, okay, fine, let me experiment. So from being a doctor to a biotech engineering to now an IT role. 2008 I passed out, and as we all know it, 2008 was the great recession time, and things were pretty bad, and I was one of the affected parties. um, my joining date was supposed to be on just after I finish engineering, but it's kept getting delayed, and there was not even a clarity that when they would call me. It would be weeks, it could be months. It just kept getting delayed. There were no jobs in the market, so even if I tried, I did not get anything outside. My friends who got and who started, they were on bench, so they did not do any work. They were in the company, but they were on bench. So it was a pretty bad time, that 2008-9 time when I passed out my engineering, and I did not know what to do, because it got delayed a lot. And that's when I said, like, what is in my control? I can't control the external environment. What is it that I can control? And that's when I started preparing for my MBA. I also started doing a lot of these other courses, took up Toastmasters, which was into public speaking, did some of these computer courses. So tried to upskill myself as much as I could. And finally I got my joining date after 15 months, which is, staying at home for 15 months was not at all easy. It was very, very difficult. um, but because I said, okay, fine, let me think of what's next. I can't think about what's not happening. Let me think of what I can make it work. And when the joining date came back, and I still remember it was in September 2009, I did not know whether I should join or not, because I had my MBA exams the subsequent month. But I took it on because I thought, I do not know whether get into a good MBA college or not. I was in Cognizant for a very short time, for 8 months, because I got through SIBM and then pursued HR. So, my line, like I said, from medicine to biotech to IT to HR, and luckily in HR now for last 10 years, I've not changed my line. And also the gap. We talk a lot about the gap, and I want to talk about the gap. And I had a gap of 15 months for no fault of mine. I had an offer and they did not call me. It really affected. I will not try to say it was all hunky dory. It did affect, and it not just affected me then, it affected me at the time of MBA interviews and even much later. Especially when I looked at my peers who had those 3-4 years additional experience than I had. Uh, but now when I look back, and I realize that all these experiences actually helped me build resilience. All those experiences, what you don't get, makes you value so many small moments in life. It builds your emotional intelligence, and that's what it did to me. The other thing that was like a learning for me is that we should not wait for opportunities to come to us. There were no jobs in the market. What can I do in my control, right? I'm sure there are students here who are wondering that, what if I don't get my placement? There are professionals out there, what if I don't get that role, or what if I don't get that promotion, right? uh, I know it is very discouraging when it doesn't happen. I've been through multiple such moments, but never stop trying. It, even if you fail, it's absolutely okay. You learn a lot from failure than from success. And the last learning that I want to share is the importance of a support system when things are down and out. My family has been very, very supportive. throughout this entire journey. And the reason, and I always say that the reason if I'm able to do even little bit right now is all thanks to their support system. So that's been my my journey from from school to college to corporate. But Geeta, you're a mother, you're a parent as well, and I'm sure as a mother also your kids must be also dealing with some of these challenges. So how what is your advice to them, and what do you tell them?
So, we seem to be a family of all management graduates. I met my husband and campus. Both my children are management graduates. My older one graduated 3 years ago, and my younger one is graduating this coming year. And are very close. I mean, I've seen their struggles, right from that placement for internships to trying for PPOs to final placements, the disappointments, the pressure of the best most sought after job. And also this whole comparison, I guess, is it's real, but it is so unnecessary, because what found in, the happiness gets colored because someone else gets a better CTC or a closure or a better organization. In fact, let me share, my son fell into this trap. One, he was extremely disappointed that he did not convert his internship into a PPO, and he went into a spell. But I think that was a great learning, because that's next year is actually the final year. He pulled himself up, and this whole learning curve he took very seriously, and from complacency I could see him actually really growing and evolving. So as Nikita, what you said, how does one leverage of setback, as actually I saw my son doing that, but yet he fell into a trap of this minus day one, to look for a job which was the most sought after. And he got it, and the next 18 months he struggled. He really suffered, and he struggled because it was not meant for him. And we were there to support him. And at a point during the pandemic, with no job in hand, he decided to quit. He put in his papers because things were just not working out for him. His well-being, his mental, his emotional, he was really, really in a bad place. So I think sticking to the core interest, skill sets, traveling your own path rather than someone else, and that happens only when you have enough people to support you, to share that it's okay. And that's probably what me and my husband were able to do. This fear of living someone else's ideal, the fear of missing out, if one is able to kind of catch it, can get beware of it, I think it's if you lead your own journey and you need supporters, you need to reach out to people, whether it's mentors, champions. Student community can reach out to the professors, or I mean, not just the parents. There is a peer group that stands in support. There are people who only one has to ask will get you a little more groundedness and help you stay connected to what is actually your core. I think that is very important.
Yeah,
So
I think some great tips. But you know what happens when you're in it and when you're
yeah,
going through it?
yes, yes,
You know,
yes.
somewhere, you're right. Those comparisons happen. It happens till date. I will not deny it, right? When you see another person, or when you feel you have done a lot of hard work and you still don't get it, it does hurt. So, it's always good to reconnect with some of these, tips and tricks that you have shared,
In
Geeta.
fact, actually, when it's difficult, as you said,
Yeah.
challenging times, but in the end, as you also said, it all works out, right, Nikita? And the attitude of letting go, learning, and moving on, I feel that's what you did. Probably helps a lot. And now, rather than an afterthought, it's just a tough question which I'd like to ask the audience. How come? I mean, Do you think it would help to deal with this attitude? In that letting go in that moment rather than as an afterthought, what do you think it is? Because wouldn't it help us make better decisions and deal with adversities better? So let's invite a few thoughts on this. Do you think being, rather than cribbing and complaining or feeling the victim mode, as Nikita did in that, the gap, very very critical, completely out of control, she put her life back on track, and rather than looking at it as an afterthought. So what do you think, Nikita?
Yeah, yeah. No, I think in the moment it is very important to realize and to also, to let go. It is important, but like I said, it is not easy. It is very, very difficult, and that's why speaking up and talking to someone. It could be a mentor, it could be a coach. Sometimes you just need that level of direction. And when we are feeling down and out, it is someone else who probably shows us the way. And it's absolutely okay to take help. I think I want to also share that sometimes we shy away from taking help. What will the other person say? What will the other person think of me? But it's absolutely okay to take help. Sometimes you just get another perspective and another direction.
Yeah, and I think we need cheerleaders, no,
Yeah,
Nikita? We
yeah,
all need a cheerleaders. I
yeah,
mean, it's not everything is not wrong with us. There's
yeah,
so much going in. So at those times, we're not able to appreciate that. And I think seeking those support of people who can be your coach, mentors, and cheerleaders to kind of,
yeah,
help you through and navigate that tough time. I think it's very, very important.
yeah, yeah. You have been my cheerleader, Gita. I can say
And
that, and I'm so comfortable right now speaking to you, right? Because we have spoken so much. You've been there, through my ups and downs. So absolutely rightly said. I would also encourage if anyone wants to share their own failure stories. We can keep talking about ours, and but would love to hear your stories, any failure that you have gone through. It's always good to to share that. You can type it on the chat window,
I
and
think there is one, Nikita. There was
okay,
someone who talked about oratorial, in school. I failed to deliver in an oratorical competition in my school days, which made me introspect on my weakness and worked on it. And later started giving better speeches and won prizes. So
wow,
it's
that's
similar to
amazing.
yes, yes. And
Yeah,
this is, I think, Narayan Devraj. Thank you so much for
yeah.
sharing this, Narayan, with
Yeah,
us.
yeah. So
Really helps. And
important to celebrate these failures, right? We need to talk about it more. We need to celebrate failures, not just success. I know this person who I used to work with earlier, and she used to make it as a ritual to celebrate failures. So, okay, it's not worked out, let's celebrate it. It's so, so important to do that.
And I love your failure resume because I think that is actually going to be, for anyone who actually documents that, it also gives you the complete blueprint of what you've learned and how much you have moved.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think it just gives you the thing of
yeah,
rather than looking up at saying how much I have to travel, it just gives you a perspective of how much you have moved.
yeah,
So I
yeah,
love your resume, failure
yeah.
resume, and I'm going
Once
to also
it's
give it a shot,
awesome,
Nikita.
yeah. We'll share it with each other.
Yes, yes.
I think it's a great segue to move into our and since we have about I think 180 people in the audience, let's move on to a quick rapid fire. Where we'll ask each other some quick questions. I would encourage you people also in the audience. You can also respond to it. It's just not me and Geeta responding to it. You can also respond to these questions. Okay, so the first question, Geeta, for you, your biggest fear.
Actually, there are many, but I'll say not meeting expectations. I think it's for me as well as others. I think that just gets me derailed very quickly. What about yours, Nikita?
Oh, I have this fear, big fear of being judged. Even right now, I'm thinking, okay, how is everyone perceiving me?
We're
And
loving you, Nikita. We're loving you and your honesty and authenticity.
yeah, so it is a fact. I can tell you that it does work. Okay, how did this go? How did that big thing of fear of being judged? For me, that would be my biggest fear.
Okay. So, what is your hack for dealing with stress?
Before that, I liked Ashish's response.
Huh?
The biggest fear. Now he's brought in the politics angle here. Modi coming back in 2024.
Okay, let's keep it to our own stories and,
Yeah, yeah,
because we can't do much outside, as
yeah,
Nikita said, what is in our
yeah,
control. All right.
yeah. Sure. So my biggest hack has been speaking to someone. Whenever I feel down and out, typically my parents, I'll pick up the phone and I'll just speak. I stay with them, so inevitably have a conversation with them,
Hmm.
and then just sharing. I don't even ask for a solution. Just unburdening myself gives me a lot of relief. Sometimes we don't look for solutions. We just want to offload our worry to someone else. So for me, that is the hack.
Hmm. Okay. Actually, for me, Nikita, it's completely the opposite. I need to make sense of it before I reach out to anyone. So, first I do is I either laugh at it, change my scene. I just step out from that particular moment, take a deep breath, come back, break it into smaller bits, more digestible, more
Hmm.
chewable, and
Yeah.
then, figure out whom do I reach out to. Because for me, the first thing is to anchor within myself before I reach out. So
Yeah.
we've learned two different hacks, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yours and mine. And I guess each one will have their own to work with.
Yeah, yeah. I think let's hear from the audience as well, and I'll request Siddesh to open up the poll. Siddesh, if you can open up the poll, and we would love to hear from you. What is your hack? If you can answer the poll, it will come up on your screen.
Okay, audience, I'm starting the poll. Is it visible to everyone?
Just to us, I think it should be visible to others as well. Let's see. Let's start. Audience, please take this. Yeah, now it is.
How much time they have, Siddesh?
20 seconds more and then we'll close the poll.
Okay.
Meanwhile, if you have marked your answers, emoji blast for our fantastic speakers, please.
Oh, you're getting good votes. 29 already. 31.
Okay, audience, will be closing the poll in the next 10 seconds. So please hurry up with your answers. So this is the poll. These are our results.
I see speak to someone as the top one, 42%, and then followed up by meditation and then pursuing a hobby. Great. And it's very important for us, whatever we do, right? We do it on a daily basis, not just wait for us to get stressed out and then do it. A lot of times, some of like hobby or meditation or exercise or any of these practices, it's important to cultivate it on a daily basis. Great. Siddesh, if you can close the poll.
I agree with you, Nikita, because I mean, that moment of anxiety wouldn't even come if one
Yeah,
knows how to,
yeah,
channel the energies. So
yeah,
yes,
yeah, absolutely. Okay, so let's move to the next question. Geeta, what are you grateful for?
so much. I think my whole circle of people who surround me, the good health which allows us to do so much, the comfortable living conditions, the opportunities that I'm able to run with. And I think, yeah, so that's all what I'm grateful for. I mean, the list is kind of endless, but I think these are the key ones which come to my mind. What about yours, Nikita?
Yeah, I'm grateful to my family, my friends. I think the people I interact with, I'm also grateful to NHRD. I think it has played a big, big role in me. So, really, really grateful to NHRD as well.
Wonderful. So let me ask you the last question. How would you define resilience? What does resilience mean for you, Nikita?
Yeah. I'll say something and I'll leave it there. I started by saying why me and then moving on to saying try me. And that's resilience.
Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. And I think for me, resilience is the ability and attitude to bounce back and learning to stay cheerful. I think this cheerful just immediately sets me, into something which is then you can do it rather than, how am I going to do it? It finds the ways. So for me, that is what resilience means. Okay, so do we open up for questions?
Yeah, I think we are on time, but in case anyone has questions, probably we can take one or two questions. Or anyone wants to share their story as well, that's absolutely okay. I see there are some questions, a lot of questions, in fact, if you look at the Q&A window.
Oh, okay. But I guess the next session
Mhm.
is beginning, so we need
Probably just take
to,
a pick,
yeah.
I say. Yeah. I think a lot of things on failures that should we try to immediately forget our failures? And most of the time, failure is good, and our failures actually help to overcome and keep learning. So, it's always good to be in, keep the learnings on. Don't forget failures, keep the learnings on, I think. Uh,
Oh, we've got a very nice quote at the end. Why me, try me, Nikita. Great way to change the perspective. Some people have loved it, and I hope a lot of them are taking that back. It's a very powerful.
All right, Dr. Gita, Nikita, I'm sorry, but we are
Yes,
falling short in
yes.
time. Thank you so much for such an insightful session. I'm sure each and every one of us here today will reflect these insights in our real life. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you, Siddesh. Thank you, NHRDN. And thank you, Nikita. It's been so wonderful as always, having this conversation which is candid and authentic. I love being with you, and I guess it's very obvious. Thank you,
yeah,
everyone.
same here, likewise.
And
Thank you so much.
thank you.
Thank you everyone for being such a lovely audience. You all may join the next session now. Thank you very much.